Madam Mayor, we are now live.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the remote meeting of Stanley Town Council. This meeting is taking place on Tuesday, the 27th of April 2021 at 6:30 p.m. and is streamed live to YouTube. I'm Councillor Carol Hampson, Mayor of Stanley, and I will be chairing the meeting this evening. I would like to extend a warm welcome to our guest speakers, members, officers, members of the public and of the media who are watching this live stream. Everyone knows the housekeeping rules now, so I will move straight onto the formal business on the agenda. Item 1 on the agenda is apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies for absence?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We do have 3 apologies of absence, one of which is Councillor Joan Nicholson, Councillor Jack Pallas and Councillor Christine Bell. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will move on to item 2, which is declarations of interest. No declarations of interest. I don't know if I'm supposed to declare, but I'm on the management board of Packed House, who's just given an update later on, but that's just to let people know. Right, we'll move on to item 3, which is the Mayor's announcements. I've had no mayoral engagements since our last Town Council meeting. I would like to thank the Stanley Town Council staff for all of their hard work in keeping the council ticking over during the pandemic, which has allowed us to help our communities in a time of need. Well done and keep up the good work. For those staff who are no longer working with us due to the new staffing restructure, I send them my best wishes and good luck for the future. I would also like to thank all the organisations and individuals in our communities that have played a part in supporting our residents all the way through this long pandemic. You have all shown what a true community spirit is. To finish off, I would like to thank all the councillors for the way they have conducted themselves through both pre-pandemic face-to-face meetings and Teams meetings. It has been a learning curve for us all, and thank you. James, have you got something you want to say?
Yes, please, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to reiterate what you did say there as well, Madam Mayor. They just want to thank councillors who are not standing or retiring from their services to the Town Council and the community, and I hope to still see them in future. I also want to mention that following this meeting, members may wish to bring in any IT equipment that belongs to the council. However, as your term of office does not finish until the 10th of May, you may wish also to continue to use them for council business. I will, of course, send out a note closer to the time. And just to also let you know, Madam Mayor, that the planned Finance and General Purposes meeting for the 13th of April 2021 was cancelled following advice and guidance from our association organisation following the death of His Royal Highness Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. Therefore, there are no minutes as normally expected from the Finance and General Purposes Committee. It was agreed with both the Town Mayor and the Chair of Finance and General Purposes that the agenda items, as per the Finance and General Purposes Committee, will be carried over to the full council meeting tonight. And then finally, Madam Mayor, if you will allow me to do a see, hear and documents check, please.
Go ahead, James.
So, members, if you can let me know if you can hear, see, and if you have received a copy of the papers. So starting in alphabetical order, Councillor Gordon Binney.
Yes, I have everything I need. Thank you.
Councillor Helen Clark.
Yes, thank you, James. I have everything I need.
Councillor Joyce Clark. Okay. Councillor Alex Clegg.
Yes, I've got everything. Thanks, James.
Councillor Mark Davidson.
Yes, I've got everything. Thank you, James.
Councillor Carol Hampson.
Yes, I've got everything. Thank you, James.
Councillor James Kane.
Yeah, I've got everything. Thanks.
Councillor Carl Marshall. Okay, Councillor David Marshall.
I'd confirm that I have everything I need, thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Joe McMahon. Okay. Councillor Ballard Nair.
Yes, I have everything, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jeanette Stevenson.
Yes, I have everything, thank you.
Councillor Les Timby.
Yes, I've got everything, thanks very much.
Councillor David Tully.
Yes, I've got everything, thank you, James.
Councillor Joanne Tully.
Yes, I've got everything, thanks, James.
And Councillor George Wilkinson.
Yes, I've got all I require.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you for that. We'll move on to item 4, which is the leader's statement. Councillor Timby.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. First of all, I would like to thank all the councillors for the hard work and commitment to Stanley Town Council over the last 4 years. It's been a very difficult last couple of those years, but we have gotten through the business. I'd also like to thank all the councillors who are not standing at the next election for all their service to Stanley Town Council and wish them all the best for the future. I would also like to thank the officers for their great work that they have done over the last 4 years. I would also thank Councillor Carol Hampson for being Mayor over the last 2 years, which has probably been the hardest 2 years due to the effects of COVID on our communities. And I would also like to put it on note how to thank all the community groups who have helped and worked non-stop through the pandemic to help the vulnerable members of our communities. And that's all for my report. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you. And Councillor David Marshall, you have your hand up. You want to come in?
Can I just thank the leader and everyone for the remarks they've just made? And can I pinch a few minutes of everyone's time? It is a special occasion on me, this. On leaving the army in 1969, after 6 years serving my country as a Royal Engineer sapper, I thought maybe I could make a difference and join a political party. This appealed to me, and this turned out to be a passion which has lasted over 50 years. Initially serving as an urban district council in 1970 until 1974, then following reorganisation, it became a council on Chesley Street District Council until 1979. At that time, my career in the ambulance service progressed rapidly, and I became Chief Ambulance Officer. I was also Secretary of Chesley Street Chamber of Trade, all of which contributed to my political awareness. In 1992, I moved to Craghead to manage our family printing works. When Lenny James retired as the Labour Party representative on the Durham County Council, I was elected by the people of Craghead and Southmore to serve them on Durham County Council. Following another reorganisation saw the creation of a unitary council for Durham, on which I served and was appointed as an alderman on Durham. I joined this council 8 years ago and became the first leader of the council. Now, with a heavy heart, I've decided to leave local government and retire. During my time in politics, there's been many reorganisations, not only of local government, but also health service. Sometimes I believe governments bring about change not for the good of the service provided by some, but sometimes they think, what can we do? What do we need to take its place? So we reorganise. larger, smaller, joined, split. We don't, as managers and councils, always reconcile the need. Many government warnings are issued and some better forgotten. Take icy conditions, for instance. I remember a government warning said that everyone travelling in icy conditions should take with them a shovel, blankets, sleeping bag, extra clothing, including scarf, hat and gloves, 24 hours supply of food and drink, de-icer, 5 kilograms of rock salt, torch or lantern with spare batteries, road flares and reflective triangles, tow rope, 5-gallon petrol can, first aid and jump leads. So I did. Mind, I did look a right prat when I got on the bus that morning. I have visited many countries and places in my military profession and political career, travelling to many places worldwide. Many I've not been to. I've never been in cahoots. Apparently you can't go alone. You have to be in cahoots with someone. I've also never been incognito. I hear no one recognises you there. I have, however, been insane. They don't have an airport. You have to be driven there. I've made several trips there thanks to my friends, family and Stanley Town Council. I would like to go on to conclusions, but have to jump to it. I'm not much for physical activity anymore. I've also been in doubt. This is a sad place to go. I try not to visit there too often. I've been inflexible, but only when it's very important to stand firm. Sometimes I'm incapable. I go there more often as I'm getting older. One of my favourite places to be is in suspense. It really gets the adrenaline flowing and pumps up the old heart. At my age, I still need all the stimulant I can get. Unstable person, I suppose. I may have been in content. I don't remember what country I was in. It's an age thing. There are many national mental health days throughout the years, and I ask this council to always be aware and think of what that statement when making decisions which impact on people we serve. I'm proud to sign off and retire following Stanley is in good hands. Proud to be the first leader of the council at a time of great public need. We have a fine record of provision of service and clear desire to help our residents. Though well-recognised local organisations such as Just for Women, Packed House, Money Advice Service, I'm delighted to have been the Armed Forces Champion for Stanley Town Council and to support Shade, who do so much fine work for those retiring from the Armed Forces. Can I thank all those officers and councillors for the support they have given me over the years. I do have one regret retiring, having served this council as a deputy mayor for 2 years and not having been mayor due to no annual meeting due to COVID. So it's goodbye, farewell, and look forward to the future for you all. Thanks for that time, everyone.
Thank you for that, David. And I'm sure everybody wishes you well.
Yes, they do.
We'll move on to item 5 now on the agenda, which is public participation. Do we have any questions?
Madam Mayor, I can confirm that I've received no questions from the public prior to the meeting.
Thank you very much. Therefore, we move on to item 6, which is confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 23rd of March 2021, which is attachment A. We're asked to approve as a correct record the minutes. Councillor Timby?
Yeah, move that we approve these minutes as a true record.
Thank you very much. And do we have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Clegg. Move on to item 7, which is the Just for Women Centre. James, do you want to come in? James Black, sorry.
Apologies, Madam Mayor. Yes,
James, you're on mute. You're on mute.
I'm still on mute, am I? There we go. I should be okay now. Apologies for that. Madam Mayor, I'm going to introduce our first speaker for Just for Women Centre. So I'd like to introduce Linda Kirk, the founder and director of the Just for Women Centre.
Thank you.
Hello, and thank you for asking me along to your meeting tonight. Just to give you an update about what we're doing at the Just for Women Centre. I'll give a little bit of a background. I'll be pretty quick. We started in January 2011 when I founded the centre for those with mental health issues and those that were caring for people with mental health, based around women and their families. Over the years, we've diversified into lots of other, directions. One of them being that in 2015, we started working with the men, and we opened a men's Cree group. We also started working with young girls from the local schools. Around this, it's all around mental health, but a lot of it is based on also, we do work with a lot of domestic violence victims, historic abuse. And we also work with those that's been in long-term unemployed. Anybody who really needs us, we're here for them. Since 2018, we were privileged for the Town Council to purchase this fantastic building that we have here. And, since then, we've really put our heart and soul into it. We've actually developed a tea room. We've got a little retail shop. We have a manufacturing department where we make a lot of our own homewares, and we're just starting to produce some wellbeing goods as well. This is to help us to diversify into other grounds that we've done. One of them has been counselling. We've probably used the counselling since we started, as my skills with counselling. So we've done that for the 10 years. But I would say from last year, obviously with COVID, we quickly went from 5 counsellors, and we have now got 14 counsellors. These counsellors have come in on board with us. They all work in a different range. Obviously, we have got mostly bereavement counsellors with us because of people coming through and wanting to speak about losing loved ones, with COVID and the anxieties and everything that they've gone through. And the other thing is obviously the domestic abuse that has risen, unfortunately. But we are here to be able to, bring women in and chat to them and hopefully help them through whatever they've gone through. And men, we have spoke to men through this crisis as well. And so, we've stayed open. We haven't closed. Probably the first day that, this was all, lockdown came, me and Debbie, my fellow director, actually thought of a plan of putting something together very quickly. And when it came out about our local care home on national TV, being, they were losing so many people, it was Debbie's idea. She came up with this plan. Why don't we go out and give the elderly a gift hamper? It was something that we'd never done before. It was new clientele. But why don't we just give them a little bit something to, to let them know that we're thinking of them? It started off a few hundred, and then all the councillors and the AAP got on board, and the Community Foundation, and it quickly went up to 3,200 that we delivered, and that was all to the elderly. From then, we obviously started going outreach to local families and delivering to local families for the children and for the parents, and then we just continued. We've kept going. Christmas, we had a Christmas stocking appeal. At Easter, we've been putting the plants out again to the elderly. We went around and we give them all plant boxes, and we put out bakery boxes for some of the children. So in COVID, when people say to us about lockdown, we don't know. Me and the team here, we've just kept going the best way we can. We're so proud of what we do in Stanley. We love being in Stanley. We love being part of, just this community. It's a fantastic community. We've got some great spirit here, I think. And for us, it's, we have so much to offer and what we can do in the future from being able to work from these premises. At the moment, we have got a summer house, which was adapted last year, so that we could still bring women in, so that they could have the face-to-face counselling. And because this has gone over, we've actually now got another garden room just being built as I speak, so hopefully that'll be up and running in a couple of weeks as well. We're not going to be opening fully. We're probably looking at June the 21st to be open fully. But at the moment, we can bring in a couple of women at a time to do small group work with some of the women. So we're still keeping things going, like our anxiety workshops. Crafting is a big thing. But I do know Lestrine is going to have a few minutes to explain about what she is doing with that. And I think for us, we've just got to look to a future. We've got to hopefully look to a future without COVID. We've got to, develop our new programs, which we're on putting together now. So there's lots of interesting things going to happen. We have gone worldwide now. We actually work with Worldwide Women in America, and we are going to start selling our products through their directory. And we're going national as well this year with our products. We're setting up a wellbeing product side that goes along with, obviously, with the work we do. So, we will keep you posted on everything and keep you updated. We have lots in the pipeline, so it's just watch this space, watch our Facebook page. We will be out there. We'll be out there on Friday, obviously the stand out to Stanley. So we will have the girls on the street and ourselves giving out leaflets. And, I would just like to say, a big thank you, obviously, to the council for believing in us and supporting us. Mental health, it's something that I suppose all of us have worked with. We've all had lived experience, either through ourselves or through family members. And we know how bad it can be for people. So we do have, lots of things in the future to come. But I will hand you over to Lestrine, as I know she wants to speak to you about, obviously, Anthea Playing Hub. So thank you so much for inviting us. And I hope you've all got your impact report. I did send it through, so I hope you have it all. And we will be keeping you, with future developments, we will be keeping you posted. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. Just to give a huge thank you to Stanley Town Council for allowing the Hub at Anthea Playing to open again. It's a relief and also pretty exciting, because I've told all the ladies that I already have there, and I can't wait to get back. During the pandemic, I've been doing a lot of support work on the phone and sending craft packages out to those that need it, and just keeping the check on everybody to see how they're doing. So that's been ongoing. I'm gradually introducing small, like Linda said, small groups of ladies in for crafting. But it'd be absolutely fantastic when we get back to Anthea Playing, which is a much needed little hub, as we call it. We call it the Cree. For those ladies that's high anxieties, depressive, vulnerable, haven't got no money basically to get down to Stanley Tower Centre. So it's much needed in the Anthea Playing, Catchgate, Greencroft areas. It's a lovely little place to be in. We're not like a knit and knot. We're more like I teach like the crafting to wellness, and that involves a lot more than just a knit and knot group. It involves support. We've got the support there, continuous support, and we can signpost them to anything else that they might need. Counselling or advice on benefits and things like that. So there's more to the Cree at Anthea Playing than just a knit and that. But thanks again. It's great that we're getting it back. Hopefully, someday, I don't know, could be the end of May, in the June, so just when it's safe and when everything's put into place. But thanks again for believing in us, and as we're all over the moon, that's opening up again, dead excited. And good luck on your retirement, Dave.
Yes, good luck, David.
Good luck, David. And thanks for listening to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I say a big thank you to Linda and Lestrine for that, for the in-depth report. And thank you very much for the support and the help that you're giving our residents and communities. It's much needed and much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll move now on to item 8 on the agenda, the Stars Youth and Community CIC. James, do you want to come in on this one as well?
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I think Councillor Les Timby had his hand up there.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Timby.
Yeah. If Linda's still here, I think she's gone black on my screen. I would like to thank her, Just for Women, for all the great work and support that they've done to the community all the way through this pandemic. And like you say, it's not just women you're helping, it's men as well. And thank you. One question for you though, Linda. At the start of COVID, you were one of the beneficiaries of the grant that we gave. How did that affect you, and what were the effects for Just for Women through that funding?
We were grateful. I mean, obviously, that day that happened, we just did not know what was going to happen. So we were so grateful for the funding to come through. You know, it was an opportunity for us to actually think outside the box and actually think, right, what can we do? What can we do, you know, for our community? So it was the start, really, of you know, putting these packs together, really, and thinking, well, if we can get out, go to a door, stand at a gate, and we were a very small team then. We only had a couple of volunteers to help us, but it was a case of it gave us a chance and a choice to be able to think, right, where do we go? What do? We don't want to shut our doors. So we were so grateful for that funding, you know, to come through. So it really did. It was positive. It was a positive outcome that we could do for the community. So we're really grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Anybody else got any questions before I move on? No? Thanks, Linda, for that. We'll move on now to item 8 on the agenda, which is the Stars Youth and Community. James, do you want to come in on this?
Thank you there, Madam Mayor. We now move on to the Stars Youth and Community, which is Darren McMahon, who is the founder and manager of the organisation.
Hi, Darren.
Hi, guys. James, are you going to be able to play my PowerPoint I sent to Nicola, or?
Yep, give me a few seconds and I will get it up for you. Can everyone see it?
Can everyone see that?
Yeah. Can we all see that? Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. Fantastic. There we go.
Thank you.
James, it's on slide 3. Can you go to the start or not? Or
is that working now?
Yep, that's the start, right? That's just the intro page. If you want to skip the next one, that would be great. No? Yes?
Yeah. Is that?
No, it's still, is it on the slide 2 on yours? Because it's still showing slide 1 on mine.
Yeah, it's on. It should be on slide 2.
Right. Well, basically, if I just talk through the slides, I'm sure members will be able to see the slides as we go on. There we go. I was asked to come and give a presentation at this meeting with a fairly loose brief, so I thought I'd go through the creation of STARS, how it's transformed, how it's addressed some of the issues locally, how it's addressed COVID, and how the world changed very much for youth work and every other organisation locally, and where we're at now. So STARS was created in 2016. We're a not-for-profit community interest company with an ASIC lock, so none of us can run away with the ASICs. We have to give it to a like-minded organisation or charity, which at the minute it will be Stanley Area Youth Consortium. So anything we generate or any assets we have will be passed on to a collection of 3 youth work projects in the Stanley area. We were initially created as a vehicle to sort of develop local youth work whilst maintaining and developing the youth workers. The National Citizen Service came in about 10 years ago, and it really hit local provision hard. It made youth work national, which in elements wasn't a bad thing. But for a lot of the kids and young people we met door to door, they never were able to access some of these big, shiny youth work projects that were very much targeted at young people way above their levels. We also, as an organisation, realised that with less local provision was less youth workers. We struggled as an organisation ourselves to find youth workers. Basically, we had former DCC workers and no one coming through. So myself and Ruth, who's the other director, we both trained as teachers to a level and started delivering youth work training. As it stands, we delivered in excess of 40 level 1 youth works, which is very much kind of your introduction, entry level youth work. It's kind of suck it and see, try it out, give you a brief overview, ideal for a volunteer in a youth work or a organisation that has a youth presence. That moved on to level 2, which gives you like a youth work auxiliary secondary worker level, which is a very payable level and a good qualification to have. We put 30 youth workers through that, most of whom work in the local area. We have youth workers at the Den at Tamfield Lee. Saracen have a couple of our youth workers. We also have stuff with Plan for Life and Durham Works up at Ox Hill. So I'm really proud of as an organisation that we were managing to train local people to work with local young people, which I think is also always a plus when you're working. Hopefully later this year, COVID's pushed it back and back and back. We'll be delivering our first level 3 youth worker training, which is a lead youth worker training. That gives you the qualifications to open and run a club yourself. It's quite a lot of investment and time and effort for me and Ruth, but we need top level functioning youth workers in and around the Stanley area. So we're pushing that boat out for that. We've got 12 people on at the minute, but I think the way it pans out, we'll probably only get 10 people accessing the course. The fact that the youth workers we train do stay local, I love. I'm a big fan of the young people that I've personally seen with my history of youth work going back over 30 years, come through the youth work situation, come back in and want to share their experiences and what they've achieved and what they've not achieved at times with other young people, and often bring their children now into a youth work setting. It was quite scary when I've never had a grandkid yet, but I've got a lot of youth work kids now that have got kids that are youth club kids. So can we move on to the next slide, please, James? We deliver, this is basically our delivery model. We deliver in quite a few different ways. Initially, when we first set up, we were looking at bricks and mortar, was basically a traditional youth work model based in the building. We've delivered sessions in Burnside, St Stephen's, Quaking Houses Village Hall, Anfield Plain Communal Rooms, Beamish Football Centre, Packed House, Louisa Centre, North Durham Academy. They can be costly to deliver because if you're either paying the rent on a building or a room hire, and there's often limitations to the access and what you can do within those, but they definitely have a place within youth work locally. Where STARS excel, and it is the history that I come from, and Ruth, the fellow director, is we were both detached workers, both having worked for Durham Detached Work, youth work project going back 20, 22 years, more 20s than I care to remember. Stanley geographically has a town centre, as we all know, with very distinct villages and communities around it, often without a suitable venue for youth work. So detached workers will go and seek young people where they are, what they're doing, in the park, in the woods, down on the line, in a bus stand, corner of Asda. It really does make a difference where they are. We go and find them, and if they want to engage, it is very much about one. We don't force ourselves on anybody. If they want to engage and they want to do stuff, that's where youth work begins. It fits the Stanley geographical area because it's so spread out. It's difficult to cover it with, like say, the bricks and mortar centres, but it's also a cost-effective role of youth work on account. So it's quite low staffing required, but can hit quite a large number of young people. Within the STARS model, we also have some very specialist sessions. One thing me and youth were, we've had sort of seen a long time ago, mental health wasn't big in youth work. They looked at physical health, they looked at healthy lifestyles, but often mental health wasn't covered. One of the first sessions we ever set up was called Space, which was just to give young people space. It was very much target driven at people with poor mental health, which were hard to identify, but they were there. People with suicidal thoughts. It was a very open and difficult session, often to take part in. A lot of self-harm, a lot of thoughts that left you very uncomfortable. But we also found we attracted people who were carers. We had people accessing the session from all over the northeast, from the Gateshead area, far side of Durham, because there was very little that was very open that dealt with a range of issues, especially those faced by young people who cared for either a family member, like an adult, or even a younger sibling. Brilliant session, that still goes to this day. We have a girl called Sarah Miller runs that. She's a fully qualified mental health counsellor, and she does amazing work. Quite fantastic to watch the difference she's made in young people's lives. One of the sessions I'm most proud of is the Pact Debate session that we run jointly with Pact House and Stanley. Fridays and Saturday nights, it was how Pact House was created on the back of the Youth Zone Cafe. Very open and forgiving session, tackled antisocial behaviour. It provided diversionary activities by being open early and open late. It took down antisocial behaviour on a Friday night in Stanley massively. Saturday, not so much, because we couldn't stay open as late, and it definitely made a difference in it. But people loved that session there. That was highlighted and shared as good practice far and wide, up and down the country. I got emails from a lot of youth work organisations asking for the model, how we created it, how it was sustained, how we tackled it, how we nudged young people to better behaviour and made good citizens. People followed the model we created, which is really nice to know. Arts and Farts was Ruth's baby. A lot of people didn't like the Arts and Farts name, but it was young people decided it was called Arts and Farts. It's where they did some art and sometimes they just farted about. It was really up to them. It was a young women's group. At the time, we had a lot of very sexually active young people and a high teenage pregnancy rate at the time. So, although it was based around self-esteem and well-being, there was a lot of sort of sexual health stuff, and we used to do Seaguard condom distribution, such things. Kids in Kitchen is not my bag. This is the little kids, which is not what I traditionally work with. Normally, big bad teenagers is where I'm at. Amazing group. This group's made up of young people. A lot of them have faced issues in their life. Bear in mind that the oldest at the time was about 11 years old. People who'd come through physical abuse, where family members had gone to prison, young people that had faced poverty, and I'm talking genuine poverty, but young people that came together and collectively tried to do better for their community. That group actually won the High Sheriff Award, and I'm not talking about the token ones. I was saying that won the top High Sheriff Award with an award of £3,500 and a commendation from Sue Snowden for that one. Amazing bunch of young people. I had a reporter who came and photographed and sat and cried after he'd gone through some of the tales. It was just, we have a 4-year-old who survived cancer. Shouldn't be here and yet takes part active in the situation. Just an amazing group of young people. That swells my heart to think they're our future and they're our community, because if you can be so active and driven at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, then we've got some good people coming through, Stanley. That group, again, because of lockdown and COVID, they never got to go and get the reward and celebrate the achievement and maybe get the recognition. So once this is all over, I'm going to do something nice with those. We kind of changed direction a lot on. We did a Gym Buddies session. Although the way STARS does is very much what young people want, the Gym Buddies was a bit more niche-y for us. And it's evolved in the project. And to be honest, again, this was Dean, who's my youth work apprentice and now level 3 co-worker, based around young people who had maybe a sporty, sort of bent on their lives, and they wanted to be CrossFit was where it originally came from, but they wanted to mix it with a bit of healthy and bit food, bit activity, bit social, and it grew and grew and grew, and it runs at Quaking Houses Village Hall, and it's just gone from strength to strength. And it's another group of young people who are quite young, but again are driven with their ideas and attitudes to where they live and what they want. They very much know where they want to be in life, which is brilliant to see. Can we move on again, James, please? Right, I'm going to go through Don't Be a Dick was one of the sessions. This was built out of the famous or infamous Stanley bus station issues, which in reality turned out to be about 4 to 6 young people and wasn't indicative at all of the young people we had in Stanley. We had a session in here while that was going on, and the young people were in here, and I put a couple of pictures on Facebook on the STARS page of young people engaging in positive activities to try and highlight that the young people in Stanley were 99.9% decent kids. They really were. We all have our problems with antisocial behaviour. We all have young people we know who are a little off the rails, but primarily we have a boatload of really, really good young people. And I was asked to remove the post by parents because all the comments were like, scum, they need birching in the street, they wouldn't have done it in my day. No recognition that these were young people who were doing something positive, just tarred with the same brush. And out of that session, a young man called Corey Daglish organised a public meeting, and we helped him pull it together at St Stephen's. And it was all around about, we're not scum. We're not the scum of Stanley. We are actually citizens of Stanley. We're part of this community. We are not what the press wants to show on TV, what Sky News wants to have a video of. We are people who are part of this community. That turned into Don't Be a Dick, which people didn't like Dick in the title, but it's about Richard. If you see the guy in the loud suit is Richard there. That's actually Denise Welsh's dad from Alfie's and Pet fame. And it was about turning and swapping the roles. So the young people came up with, how would you challenge a peer who was engaging in antisocial behaviour? We'd say, don't be a dick. Stop being that Richard. Don't be Richard. So we made a series of 4 films with Adam Chetter came in. It's funded through Stanley AAP, where the roles were reversed. And if the Town Council wants, I'll link them into all the videos. I think there's one on the next slide, where we highlighted young people being the victims of antisocial behaviour and the protagonists being old people. It's been seen by tens of thousands of people and shared wildly. They're a great series of videos, and they're very, very successful. And Corey, who pulled it together, stars in them. And although he's been assaulted with a bottle on several times or having a rock thrown at me, he smirks constantly, but it just adds to the charm of the video. So it's a great project. I don't know if it'll play or not. Will it? Can you go to slide 6 for me, or 5? Just a couple of pictures of the second public meeting we had. Will that play?
Oh my God, son, are you all right? What have they done to you? Oh my goodness. Don't be a dick.
If we could jump to the next slide, please, James. I will send a Dropbox link to James for those 4 videos, and then if the members want to have a look at them, they do have sound and they're well worth watching because they're quite fun, and the message got across. I say they were seen by tens of thousands of people and shared very, very wildly. I'm just going to go through some of the sessions that we offer at the minute. A lot of what we do now is about real world things. One of the things that we've done is being dementia friendly as a youth organisation. But we wanted young people to also be very much aware of dementia in the community, how they might see, recognise and deal with it. This was a session run through Tanya Willis, who did a lot of work with Beamish Museum and their dementia programmes. It was a fantastic session to do because these young people clearly had family members and relatives who were struggling with dementia, and they weren't quite sure what was going on. And I think for a young person to have their grandma or granddad maybe not recognise them or forget who they are is really difficult. But that session, although it was there to support young people to deal with dementia, it also helped them deal with dementia themselves from a personal point of view. Next slide, please. Yeah, we do loads now through wellbeing, self-esteem and backing on the mental health. We try and celebrate all the big mental health days. It's a difficult one because from the outside, people look in and see young ladies painting their faces and doing nice things or drawing and expressing. We found that through art and being able to talk and understanding that you can talk and say anything to other people, and that you're never alone. The key thing that we came out with, everything that we did, that most mental health issues can address by the feeling that you're not alone and you're not by yourself. We've had young people that message us in the middle of the night, and just knowing that we are there to see it next morning, they've said has made the difference to them, feeling suicidal, feeling like they're going to self-harm. They know that someone is there to read that. Maybe not that moment, that second, but in the morning, one of us will click on the page and get that message and just drop them a message back. So do loads of stuff around, often through creative activities, or give people the chance to express their feelings. And we also use photography and music as well. Next slide, please, James. This is one of the things we start doing with the Weir Rivers Trust. We started doing some environmental work, which was up in South War, filtering the old mine working water out at places that even I forgot what was there from when I was a kid. Brilliant place to be. Young people got muddy and dirty. We made leaky dams. It's one of these places that you can stand in the middle of it and feel like you're in the middle of nowhere. Absolutely beautiful and tranquil. Frogs hopping, grasshoppers everywhere. Yeah. 100 yards away, there's 3,000 people living. We also took part in the town council playing the park days and some of their events, surveying young people on what they wanted to do, what they wanted to see locally, and getting a feel for what was available. Although traditionally we're a youth work organisation, we try and link in with other youth providers that include sports providers or after school clubs or activities. Next slide, please, James. Right, we've done that. Sign language became an important thing. I have a friend whose mother and father were born profoundly deaf, and she signed all her life, even though she's fully hearing and speaking. And she came and ran a couple of sign language sessions to get young people involved in that. Again, it's just one of those things that even the basis of being able to communicate somebody with a disability, to say your name or say hello, ask how they are, is really, really important. And the young people take to it so well. It's quite fantastic when they pick it up way faster than I could ever think about. Young lady in the middle is a young lady called Chloe who suffered from fecal alcohol syndrome. She has massive anxiety. She stutters. She loses words. She's very breathy. She comes and does a radio show, and I have two rules. That at the start of her hour show, she welcomes people to the show, and at the end of the show, she says, "Thank you for listening." If she speaks in between, that's up to her. It depends on her well-being at the time, her mental state, how she feels, her confidence. But what we did notice when she took part is after week 2, week 3, week 4, her stutter drifted away. She spoke more. She's very much into K-pop and Japanese rock. She goes all around the country now to different sort of conventions and shows. And one thing she can say is, I DJ, I play K-pop on the radio, and she can give them a link to the radio, and it's all backed up on the server, so you can listen to all her shows, and it boosts her no end. The guys on the left are a group of podcasters that we have in on a Friday night. They initially started off by just swearing, because it's fun to hear yourself swear through a microphone in everybody's headphones. But then you just let them go and press record, and they talked about McDonald's coming to Stanley, what it meant to them, what happens at school, how they feel about life, if their families are breaking down, what's good, what's bad. It's fantastic to record it and play it back and listen to it. And from me, I take a lot of it, and it helps shape the session delivery like I built in some of our youth work sessions. But it's amazing how much we just neglect to listen to young people and just press and record and listen to an hour and a half of 3, 4, 5 young people rant away is gold dust to me. It's what you should be listening to. I know I'm biased to a youth point of view, but they say things that I'd never have thought of, and I don't think many people would have thought of. And it's important to add those into shaping the community. Next slide, please, James. This is some of the physical activities we run at the minute. We're currently putting together a football team that COVID put on hold. Shay, one of our young men's designing this red shirt at the bottom with the slice. We promised him we'd get some football shirts done up. I think McDonald's are going to pay for that if they're still willing. Up in the top left, just above the heading, that's the Gym Buddies guys. It's a fair mix of young people. That's Dean's session. They're fantastic. And then the other 2 sessions run through the stuff we do up the Louisa. We tend to link in with the police on that one. We've also had the Stanley Stars netball team come in and drill the lads, because the lads tend to dominate the sessions with 5-a-side. To have women come in and strong women come in and say, this is what we do. Oh, it's a girls' game. Let's train, and have the lads come off thoroughly knackered is a good place to be. Next slide, please. Some of our trips and residentials. Bottom right-hand corner is a campfire. I've worked with young people since I was 17 years old, and that's put me close to 35 years in youth clubs. Best memories that come back from all those young people I've ever worked with is sitting around a fire. A very basic human need there. Remember that time we got the fire, Darren, and you got the marshmallows, and you lied to us and told us we didn't have pizza, but you had bought pizza because you're soft, because you're a big hairy man, but you're soft, and you bought us pizza even though we didn't deserve it and we're awful and we're up all night, Darren. Remember that. Best times I've ever had as a youth worker, best times I've ever had fed back as a youth worker from young people, out in the woods, sitting around a campfire, singing a daft song, toasting the marshmallow, eating pizza. Tough work to do as a youth worker because there's many times I've been away for 4 days and never slept, but brilliant memories. I took a lad away and he'll always stick with me. We pulled him out of the back of a police van as they were taking him back to his mum, said, "Mum, can we take him away?" Grabbed a pair of jeans, a couple of pairs of shoes, a towel, chucked him in the back of a minibus, took him away. That was the first weekend at 14 he could remember he hadn't smoked green, and he felt better for it. No doubt the weekend after he was back on the green, but I always had that over him. I always had that you don't need green thing. We always look for little things to make a difference in people's lives. If you can demonstrate that there is change there and change can happen through experience, it generally works. That kid's doing okay today. He's probably about 32 now, but he's the only person I've ever kind of lifted out of a police van and put in the back of a minibus to take away for a weekend. We generally try to do 3 to 4 residentials a year. They're not cheap to do, in all honesty, but we have an amazing time. We generally use it as a team building or a planning session, so the young people come away, shape the delivery for the following year or the following. If we do like holiday, so they might shape summer delivery, and summer might shape, or autumn might shape winter sort of thing. Next slide, please, James. These are just some of our young people active. You might recognise Stanley Civic Hall there. We came to support Ox Hill for their pantomime. We do a lot of work as a detached project linking in the youth projects, and Ox Hill are an amazing organisation. So when they do the pantomimes, we generally try to tip up with a group of young people and see it. In the middle is Sam and Ethan. That was their first ever live concert. Ethan, as a young man, struggled with any kind of crowd, and his anxiety's off the chart, and to put him in quite a big unruly crowd, to see a band he loved, to be fair, absolutely changed his life. He was so much different from when we walked out. He didn't expect to do that, although it's quite a simple task in many people's eyes, and maybe a treat or an enjoyment. For him, it was a life-changing experience. Bottom right is we always go to the centre of the life. We like to go ice skate, and we go with the activity den. We take Ox Hill, some young people subbing ourselves. We tip in together to make it cheaper, and we go out. Top right is the Knife Angel. Group of young ladies there had lost a family member to a knife crime-based incident, not locally at all. But they wanted to go and see the Knife Angel because it meant something to them. It was poignant. So we did a little bit of work about knife crime, carrying a weapon, how it can impact on you or young people in your family, and having a young lady who'd lost a family member. It kind of drove that home really, really hard in a lot of people's mind. It was about being in control of your actions and how your actions can affect others, and how you can't guess at what you will do and what the outcomes will be. So, look after yourself and be safe. Can we go on the next slide, please? This is some of the fundraising stuff we've done. Although the bottom one looks like it's probably Halloween at Beamish, which is horrific. Take the kids down into the woods, and it is just horrific, but they love it. We've got quite a lot of young people who are keen to help fund the youth project. So they either make craft items, or we get a teddy bear donated named the Bear, and they go to some of the local fates over Christmas and summer, and we have a presence there. I think the bottom right is Theatre Royal. That was our first ever theatre trip. They wanted to go and see Kinky Boots, which wasn't really suitable for a group of young people, so we ended up with We Will Rock You, and it was fantastic. And the top right one was the after party. I think the Mayor of Stanley sitting in the middle there. That was the Don't Be a Dick celebration event. I think young people served Carol more pizza than she'd ever seen in her life that day. Can we switch to the next slide, please, James? So a little bit about where we're now. I'll put lockdown to now. We're a social youth club project. We're a project that seeks young people and pulls them together. Young people that may not access traditional youth work models, that may not access youth work at all, but they can access us as and when and on their terms. Lockdown hurt us hard because the guidance was young people shouldn't be out, but they were out. We went out a little bit, but we were attracting young people, and it became such a catch-22 dilemma of it put us in a situation where we had to walk away, and we've never walked away from young people. So we decided to pull them and went online. The Zoom was great, but a lot of our young people, they're Instagram Snapchatters, they don't do Zoom and such things, and often don't have data. So we managed to keep it connected to some degree, even dropping stuff off at young people's houses. We did a little bit of a hot box thing where we got a venue and we had a 2-metre square. And if young people had a specific issue, they could come and stand in their 2-metre square. It was a bit impersonal, but it was what we had at the time, and it was effective. During lockdown, we managed to get a youth survey going with the Area Youth Consortium. This is going to shape delivery going into 2021-22. 231 people it was took part in the survey. Fantastic data. We've got a report. It's just about finished now. I'll get it out to all the members and to the town council. And we took out from that a lot of not surprises. What young people felt was their remoteness. A lot of them felt their physical health had suffered because they weren't getting out. And then huge amounts of young people were starting to realise that the mental health was poor. Often with a young person mental health, there is a feeling but not a recognisation of what it is. So from 2021-22, with the Area Youth Consortium, we've just been successful on a lottery bid. We've got a dedicated mental health youth worker, and every youth project in Stanley, from a karate club to a football club to a after-school club to a traditional youth club, can access the support of that mental health youth worker. We're linking into schools. It can be just about managing the emotions, about wellbeing activities, about recognising the signs and dealing with it, talk to people. But if a young person's at the point where they need specific help or counselling, that is also available. Really, really pleased with that. It's a lot of work to take on between the local youth club providers, but it's much needed, and it's going to be well resourced and well supported. So we're going to be driving that out probably from May, June onwards for the next year. While our small sort of support and physical activity groups, especially outdoor ones, are back on now, and the detached sessions are back operating. So you might see a fluorescent green youth worker clad person walking around. That'll be me, Ruth, Lynn, Dean, Sarah, Paula, or one of the other youth workers. Put on the bottom about keeping young people engaged and connected. It's been a challenge over the last 12 months, and it's something that I think all the youth clubs locally addressed really well. Youth projects by their nature tend to change and adapt to what's needed, but I don't think anybody had ever had to change and adapt to what we faced over the last 12-14 months. And like I said before, as a detached project, we are a social project. We're about joining and connecting people, sometimes in small groups, sometimes in large groups. But when you took that away, that was a huge worry. But I'm very proud to say that we kept a lot of people connected, and now things are drifting back. The young people are coming back with a different set of needs, and that's fine, because whatever needs young people have is what we address. Last slide, please. Again, I just threw awards in. I'm not one for awards and stuff. It's nice to be recognised. We run collectively a local youth awards recognising groups and young people's achievements. Stars were recognised with the High Sheriff for the provision we did with, there's the slide on the right, with Merlene. There's like a young mum, and she ran a young mums group, and she's expecting child number 2 now. Brilliant kid. Lost her mum at the age of 2 or 3 years old. Got a very quite elderly father. She's very young in the family. A daughter's named after her mum who she's lost, and I've known Merlene since she was a little girl. She's come through all the youth club projects I've ever done, and she's quite an amazing young lady, and she's taken that difficult life experience as being a carer for her elderly father and being without a mum for most of her life to turn herself into an absolutely fantastic mother, and then go and promote her struggles and then her achievements to other people. Top right, there's a handsome councillor Matt Marn there. That was Toby. Toby was one of my volunteers. He came through. He was recognised with an award from the town council. He's now at Durham University training to be a teacher. Amazing young man who came, and it just has an absolute aptitude and bend for working with young people. And as a teacher, I think he'll be amazing to be taught by. Elise with Carol there. It's her birthday today. I've just been up to see her. She's just been recognised by like the Durham Youth Council for her. She does a lot of stuff around local communities fundraising. It's a birthday today. I went up to give her a card with 20 quid in. She gave me an envelope with £111 in. She had a raffle for her birthday. So I think that was a fair deal. 20 quid to Elise, £110 back for Packed House. So yeah, we just to end really is to thank the town council, because you were our first major funder. You recognise that like youth work locally was important, and you wanted to be part of that, and you have been from start to finish. And we'll keep going. We keep going from strength to strength. I don't think there's never going to be not a need for youth work, and I think that's highlighted more than ever now. And I'd like to think as we move forward together, we'll always work in partnership. It was brilliant to have Linda there, and done some work with Linda over the years, and LinkedIn and lockdown. And I have to say, I was one of the best days in the early days of lockdown. I went out with Linda, Lestrine, and everybody, and Nerissa at the time, when we dropped off some goodie bags with the old people, and there was a bit of a sing song, and it was amazing. I think as a community, Stanley does really, really well. We have some top-notch community groups with some top-notch people, and it's always a pleasure when you hear somebody present and you realise we're doing okay, we're doing good. So thank you for your time anyway.
Thank you very much for that in-depth report there, Darren. And it's lovely to hear that there's so much going on in Stanley for our young people. And long may it continue. Thanks very much, Darren, once again.
Thank you.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll move on to item 9 on the agenda.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor, we have a few members who have their hands up. Sorry, apologies. Yeah. There is...
did I see who was first? Councillor Timby?
Yes, let's go first.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Darren, if you're still here. You've dropped off my screen again. Great presentation about everything that you do. From myself and as the leader, I would like to thank all the staff and volunteers of STARS for you highlighting the work that they do, working with all these young people on different projects in our community. I think it's something that Stanley should be proud of, the STARS programme. Your presentation showed what diverse sessions you've held for these kids and the benefits that the kids have getting out of it. I can only, like I say, thank the volunteers and staff of STARS for giving these kids a chance and giving them a focus in life.
Thanks as much, Pete. One thing I'd just throw in that I always forget, because Ruth came up with the name STARS. It's multifaceted. Our logo is a guy reaching for the stars, which is the obvious thing, but it was trying to instill in people that you can be that star, you can be that shining light, you can be something that guides someone. It had so many meanings. She threw stars at me and I went, and then I was like, okay, I get it now. And I think it does. It's very descriptive and very sort of true of what the organisation stands for. It's about everybody has a chance to either reach or be that star or that guiding light.
Councillor Clegg, do you want to
I would just like to say to Darren, thanks very much for all what you've done for Stanley. I'm pleased to be associated with you. Thanks very much, Darren.
Thanks, Alex.
Anyone else want to come in? No. Thank you once again for that, Darren.
I'm off to play football in the rain for my sins. Right, thanks, guys. All the best.
Thank you. Council's asked to note that report. Thank you. Now we'll move on to item 9, which is the accounts for payment and bank reconciliation. And that is attachment B, C, D and E. Councillor Kane, you have your hand up. Do you want to come in?
Yeah, sorry, Madam Mayor. I want to just make a proposal before we go ahead with this, that we take them all in block, please.
Right.
So it's just to note and accept, and if there's no issue.
I would second that.
Right. Councillor Binney, did you want to come in?
So I was going to second it, but obviously Alex is jumping.
All right. So we have a proposer and a seconder that we take them on block. And they are to approve and to note. Thank you very much. Can we move on to item 10 now? Which is the draft outturn, which is attachment F and G. Committee is requested to note the report.
Madam Mayor, I don't know whether you would like Anne, as the finance officer, to explain a few bits and pieces in the draft outturn report.
Thank you very much, Anne. Over to you.
Okay, thanks, Chair.
So I did a projection a couple of weeks now. If you remember way back in September when we were setting the budget, we were projecting a outturn deficit of £10,000. Obviously, at that time, we weren't aware of the grants that we would receive in the next 6 months of the year. So our outturn position has changed from a deficit to a surplus position as a result of the grants. So at the time of doing that report, I was projecting a surplus of 28,000. And currently obviously working on the true outturn figure at the moment, which will be a surplus position, and they should be ready in the next few weeks. So I don't know if anybody's got any questions.
Has anybody got any questions for Anne? No. Can we note the report?
I put my hand up at the last minute. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Just wondering if I know Anne's mentioned that the position changed because of the grants that we received, but can Anne just give us a quick outline of which grants we received that changed the position by I think it was about just over 30 grand, wasn't it? So what was the which grants we did receive that we weren't expecting? Because obviously if we were applying for them we would expect them, but that wasn't the type of grant, was it? So can you just explain a bit about that, please, for anybody who's watching that doesn't know? Thanks.
Certainly. So at the time of the last projection, we knew about the furlough grants, which were the grants covering the staff who we'd had on furlough. But the other grants that we've received since are lockdown grants from the government. So this is to help us with the loss of income. So we've received that for both the Civic Hall and the Anfield Plain Hut. What other grants did we receive? We have... That's mainly the local restriction grants, and also we made some further savings in just the general running cost as a result of close down. So because obviously we were working from home, we had our electricity accounts dropped slightly, not as much photocopying, postage, stationery, just the general running. We made further savings in relation to those as well.
That's great. Thanks, Anne.
Thank you very much for that. Can I ask the committee to note the report? Thank you very much. We will move on to item 11, which is the date, time and venue of the next meeting, which will be confirmed after the elections. And that is the conclusion of tonight's meeting. I would like to wish everyone good luck and good night.
Good night.
Goodbye and farewell.
Been a pleasure.